Oh yeah, so it was just a lot of like, there was a pretty big learning curve and like learning to steer and learning what the coaches wanted and learning, what calls to make, what calls, like how to be quiet versus how to, like the balance between talking and not talking, and then also learning the technique myself, because when we're doing practice and we're doing like skill rows or something during practice, I'm the eyes in the boat watching, like, okay, is everybody catching on time? Like, are all the blades going in on time? Does it feel like the boat's connected? Does it feel like the boat's moving together? Does it feel like, oh, people are rushing into the catch and it's really disjointed? So my job is like to make sure that everything's flowing together. So I had to learn, the technique aspect too. So there was a big learning curve, and so just like all of this new information plus like, will I be cut, all of that, and then also just being a freshman. In high school I took like pretty rigorous courses, so I was like, yeah, hit me, UT, like you can't, like I'm not going to be fazed by anything. So I was taking 15 hours, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add in like 20 hours of practice a week, 15 hours is a lot, especially freshman year doing like chemistry, biology, like check, all of those boxes. But obviously I made it through, came out the other side better for it. I think it really like helped shape me as a person, just like being able to delegate my time, being able to be like, yes, I need to dedicate time to my friends in my sorority, I want to go like to these mixers, I want to meet people, I want to make friends, but then also like now I am working towards this athletic goal, like I have to be dedicated to my sport as well.
Do you feel like there's ever been any like sort of judgment or preconceived notion or anything like that from your teammates or coaches just because you did only start rowing as a freshman and going into that, maybe people doubt you because of experience?
I think,
or have you felt doubt within?
Yeah, so I think a lot of, I think there kind of is this stigma against walk-ons, and I think there's a stigma against walk-ons in like almost every sport. Just because it's like, well, you weren't recruited here to do this. Like I had to work, recruits have to work so hard to get recruited, especially to a Division I school. Like they are busting their butts day in, day out. And for me to have like this amazing opportunity to not have any experience and to try out for this team and to walk on and to perform at the same caliber and participate at the same caliber as these people who have been rowing, who've been coxing for like 2, 3, 4, 7, 10 years, is, I think initially, I think it does bring out a little bit of animosity. I think people are a little bit like, oh, I can't believe like my friend didn't get an offer to come to UT, but like this girl just walked on. But I also think that I also think that really dissolves so quickly, because I think it's kind of one of those things that's like, if you don't know someone, obviously you're making these preconceived notions and you're like, well, she didn't really have to work as hard to get here, or like she didn't this, that, and the other. And so I think it's kind of like as soon as we progressed from like being in our walk-on class to being with the other freshmen and with the older teammates, I feel like that really dissipated quickly, because at least on our team, the end goal is like to do well at Big 12s, to do well at NCAAs, and having animosity towards teammates and like having like this harboring like hatred or harboring resentment is like not going to get you to where you need to go. So everybody is like, if you do something that is so stupid, like if you say something that's ridiculous or you aren't performing the best you can perform, your teammates are going to call you out on it and then help you fix it. And so I think that was really helpful for me being a walk-on, because they like, I had friends that would like send me coxswain recordings and be like, do you hear how she's calling this, or do you hear how she's doing this, or do you hear how, and then like recording myself and sending my recordings to my coaches and to my other coxswain teammates, and they'd be like, okay, well, you're doing this with your voice, but you should be doing this. And so I think like overall, I think that there's just always going to be a hint at the beginning, but as soon as you're part of the team, as soon as you're performing with the other athletes, you're really part of the team. And I do think though freshman year that there's a stigma, a little bit of a stigma against walk-ons, just because rowing is a really tough sport, and like, I mean, all the sports are really tough, but you just have all of these demands, and especially for people who weren't used to those demands in high school, oftentimes, and I don't know how it is with walk-ons in other sports, but oftentimes you see a really quick drop-off. Like freshman year, people power through, and then you get the summer, you aren't working out, you're like, oh, this is what it's like to have free time, and people just don't come back, or they don't come back after winter break, or they don't want to stay for spring training, or all of these things where they're like, wait, I'm missing out on like life. But and so there is like a big drop off. Like I said, my freshman year we started, like there were 100 people who were trying to try out, and now it's me and then one other rower who are still on the team. And that's just through cuts, and then through people taking a step back from the team and, you know, focusing on their major, focusing on this, that, the other. But like I think, like I said before, just once everyone's getting to know each other, once everybody is, you know, on the roster, on the same team, it's just all about making each other the best that you can be, so that our team can be the best that they can be.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it difficult for you during those brief periods of animosity?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was really tough, because, you know, you're working, like I was working so hard. This sounds so ridiculous, but I would, like, when I would walk to class, I would listen to Coxon recordings, and like, instead of listening to music, I would just be listening to like all of the, you know, like the U23, which is like a big, I don't know if they have it in other sports, but it's like the under 23 rowing. It's like a U.S. rowing team, but for people who are under 23 years old. So I'd like listen to the U23 Coxons, or Mary Whipple is a big name in the coxing world. She has a ton of accolades to her name, but I'd like listen to her recordings and her talks on what, like, how coaches should coach coxswains and how coxswains should be coached, and so I like felt like I was working so hard, and I had worked really hard to get into UT too, you know, and so I was like, I deserve to be here. Like I feel like I've put in the same amount of work. Like it might not have been athletically, it might not have been, you know, me going through the recruiting process, but I still felt like I had done my time, and there was like, for example, my freshman year, there was, like, I was coxing a boat for a long time, and I was, like, the coxswain for that boat, and you know, you get to know all the rowers really well, you know how the boat flows, you know what to call to, like, make sure that people are staying on it, people are focused, people are being really intentional, and then, so we get to Big 12s, and there were 2 recruited coxswains my year, and so at Big 12s, there's, first 8, second 8, a freshman 8, and then first 4, second 4, and a spare 4. And so the spare 4 is like just there in case anybody gets injured, but they have this like exhibition race. And so obviously, like, I didn't feel like I didn't ever want to take the place of a recruited coxswain, because the girl who coxed the 3rd 8, phenomenal. I like love her to pieces. Her name is Sammy, and she's one of the best coxswains I've ever worked with. And she. So like I 100% fully supported her spot, but then I felt like I had been, like when we made all the lineups, I felt like I was going to be in the spare 4, and I was so excited, like I was going to get to go to Big 12s. And then there was another recruited coxswain who hadn't traveled all year because various reasons, and she wasn't like she was having trouble like kind of meshing with the team, and so she got to go in my place, and the next year she quit. And so that was really frustrating for me, because I was like, I felt like I had worked for this spot. I had, like, you know, stayed on weight. I had done all of these things, checked all of the boxes, and I kind of felt like she went because she was recruited, and I didn't go because I was a walk-on, which, like, there were probably other factors, but, like, in that moment, that's what I felt. And so that was really frustrating for me, because it felt like everything that I had worked hard to do, everything that, like, I had built in my repertoire over this literally
Right.
like 1 year of my 1 year of experience. I like felt like it kind of had culminated in nothing. But I mean, that also kind of just puts a fire under your butt, you know, to be better and to do better the next year and the next year and the next year. And so like I think that did help me a lot coming into, you know, my sophomore year, and then now. So, you know, everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
But
So overall, how would you say that going through those experiences as a walk-on and like persevering through them has shaped your identity and your roots with this sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I just love the sport, and I think a lot of times if you've done a sport for a while, you either start to hate it or you just like can't get enough of it. And I think like sometimes athletes go through this kind of like you have, you know, in high school, everybody, like teams are so fun in high school, even competitive teams, because I swam club semi-competitively. I was never good because I was short and also because I didn't work hard enough, but that's beside the point. But you know, you have like, you do fun things with your team, and you do donut relays, and you do like all this like kind of like not real stuff. And so it's like, yes, you're working really hard, but there are also like, I feel like there's a lot more like fun incorporated in practice and stuff like that. And when you get to college, it's like such like a significantly higher caliber. And so you go from practicing like I don't know, like 10 hours a week, like 2 hours after school every day, to practicing 20 hours a week, which like on the down low is, you know, 26 hours a week. And so I think like that really sucks the fun out of a lot of like people who've been doing it for a while. But then there are also people who like, they love this sport so much that when you go to 20 hours, it's like, oh, thank God I haven't been getting enough. And so I think being a walk-on, I have like, the sport had this novelty, and like I could not get enough of it. And so just like seeing it with new eyes and being like, this is something that I've never done before, and so I can just like see how good I can get. I think that like really has helped me like become a better athlete, but then also become like a better student and a better person, because it's just like there's a lot of perseverance and there's a lot of like dedication, and if you really care about something and if you really want to be successful at something, you find the time and you find the energy to make it work. And so like I think that's kind of shaped my academic career too. Like it's helped me realize a lot of things. Like I came in, you know, being pre-med, biology, all of this stuff, and then I realized like I'm just doing this because like I feel like it's what I should do, but it's not what I really am passionate about, you know. And so that like thinking about those things in objective ways, like is this where my heart is, you know, am I willing to dedicate this time to study for this? If not, like I obviously like don't care enough about it, you know. And the same with rowing, like if I'm willing to dedicate hours at practice plus outside hours, you know, getting in my cardio, keeping on weight, all this stuff, then like it's something that I really care about. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And then I think being with like-minded people, like on the team, you know, we have what, 60 other girls that are like in that same exact mindset, that are like, we love this sport, like sometimes you hate your coach, and that's just how it is, but you always love your teammates, and you always want to support your teammates and help your teammates through hard times and work with them academically and do all of this stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been like such an incredible experience so far in my college career, and I like definitely would not be the same person without it.
Good. Yeah. That's awesome. I honestly think that we've like covered our bases.
Yeah.
That was honestly
check.
No.
All the boxes.
That's so interesting though. I didn't realize. Here, I'm gonna stop this.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.